You do it without even realizing, don't you? A conversation ends, everything seems completely normal, and nothing feels off in the moment. You walk away, maybe you check your phone, maybe you move on to something else, and for a few seconds your mind feels quiet. But then something shifts. Slowly, almost silently, your mind goes back. It starts replaying the conversation you just had. Not once, but again and again, like a loop you didn't choose. The way you said something, the exact words you used, the tone of your voice, the way they reacted. Even the smallest pauses suddenly start to feel important. And without warning, what was just a normal conversation begins to feel different. You start questioning it. You start analyzing it. Why did I say that? Did that sound weird? Did they notice something? Did I pause too long? And even when nothing clearly went wrong, your mind keeps searching for something that did. It's not loud or chaotic at first. It's subtle, almost quiet, but it keeps pulling your attention back. You try to ignore it. You tell yourself it doesn't matter. You try to distract yourself with something else. But the thoughts don't stop. They keep coming back, stronger each time, as if your brain is trying to solve a problem that was never actually there. And the more you replay it, the more real it starts to feel. Small details begin to grow. Neutral expressions start to feel negative. Silence starts to feel like judgment. And slowly, without you noticing, your perception begins to change. Not because the conversation was bad, but because your mind is reshaping it, reconstructing it in a way that feels more intense than it really was. And that's when the discomfort begins. That strange feeling that something wasn't right, even when everything actually was. Because what you're experiencing isn't just overthinking in the way people casually describe it. It's something deeper. It's your brain trying to make sense of uncertainty. Every conversation leaves behind small gaps, things you didn't fully understand, reactions you couldn't fully read, moments that didn't feel completely clear. And your mind doesn't like incomplete information, it doesn't like uncertainty. So it goes back again and again, trying to fill those gaps, trying to find meaning in things that may not even have meaning, trying to create clarity where there was none needed. And in doing that, it pulls you deeper into the loop. Because instead of finding answers, it creates more questions. Instead of giving you clarity, it builds doubt. And that's why you can't let it go. Not because the conversation was that important, but because your mind doesn't know how to leave it unfinished. Here's where it gets deeper. And this is the part most people never realize. You're not just replaying the conversation to understand it. You're replaying it to evaluate yourself inside it. Every time your mind goes back, it's not really focused on what the other person said. It's focused on how you appeared, how you sounded, how you were perceived. And somewhere along the way, that became important to you in a way you didn't fully notice. Because at some point, your brain learned something very specific. It learned that being judged feels uncomfortable, that being misunderstood feels even worse. That saying the wrong thing even once can stay in your head far longer than it should. So instead of risking that feeling again, your mind adapted. It became more aware, more observant, more careful. During conversations, you're not just talking naturally. A part of you is monitoring everything, adjusting your words, watching reactions, reading expressions, trying to stay within a version of yourself that feels acceptable. And that process takes energy, more than you realize. So when the conversation ends, your body relaxes, but your mind doesn't. It shifts into a different mode, a review mode. It starts going through everything again, not because it wants to hurt you, but because it thinks this is how you improve. This is how you avoid mistakes. But here's the problem. When your brain is focused on avoiding mistakes, it becomes hyper-aware. It starts noticing things that don't actually matter. It starts questioning things that were never questioned. It creates meaning in neutral moments. A simple pause becomes awkward. A normal response becomes suspicious. A neutral expression becomes negative. And over time, this turns into a pattern. You talk, you leave, you replay, you question, and the cycle repeats. Not because something went wrong, but because your mind is trying too hard to make everything right. And that effort, that constant internal correction is what drains you. Because you're no longer just having conversations. You're analyzing them like a performance, breaking them down, trying to understand every possible interpretation, trying to control how you're seen even after the moment has passed. And the more you do that, the less natural everything feels. The more pressure builds, the more aware you become of yourself. And that awareness, when it crosses a certain point, turns into self-consciousness, where instead of being present in the conversation, you're watching yourself from the outside, judging every word, every reaction, every pause. And that's when even the simplest interactions start to feel heavy, because you're not just talking, you're managing how you exist in that moment. And when it ends, your mind continues that process. It keeps reviewing, adjusting, and questioning, trying to prepare you for something that may never even happen. But in doing that, it keeps you stuck in a loop that feels impossible. The question is not, how do you stop replaying conversations, but why does your mind believe this is necessary in the first place? Because the moment you understand that, the pattern begins to weaken. Up until now, this loop has been automatic. You didn't choose it consciously. It just happened. A conversation ends and your mind takes over. But once you start noticing it, something changes. You begin to catch the moment it starts. That exact point where your brain pulls you back into the past interaction, where it begins to replay, reanalyze, and rebuild the same scene again and again. And instead of following it like you always have, you pause, not to stop it forcefully, not to fight it, but to recognize it, to see it for what it actually is. Not reality, not truth. Just a mental habit that has been repeated so many times that it now feels natural. And that awareness creates space between you and your thoughts. Because before this, every thought felt important. Every replay felt like something you needed to solve. But now you start to see that not every thought deserves your attention. That not every question needs an answer. That not every moment needs to be analyzed. And slowly, very slowly, the intensity begins to fade. The loop doesn't disappear instantly. It won't. But it loses its control over you. Because you stop feeding it. You stop reacting to every thought as if it matters. You allow it to exist without engaging with it. And that changes the way your brain responds over time. Because your mind learns through repetition. The more you engage with the loop, the stronger it becomes. But the more you observe it without reacting, the weaker it gets. And eventually, what once felt constant starts to feel distant. The replays become less intense. The questions become quieter. The need to analyze begins to fade. And you start experiencing conversations differently. Not as something to review later, but as something to be present in while it's happening. And that's where the real shift happens. Not when you eliminate overthinking completely, but when it no longer controls you. Because most of the things you replay were never noticed the way you imagine. Most of the mistakes you search for don't exist outside your own mind. And the more you realize that, the easier it becomes to let go. Not by forcing yourself to stop thinking, but by understanding that you don't need to follow every thought. Because sometimes the reason you feel stuck is not because something went wrong. It's because your mind doesn't know how to leave things alone. And once you teach it that it can, everything starts to feel lighter. If you've been experiencing this for a long time, then you already know this isn't random. Comment loop if this felt real to you. And if you want more videos that help you understand what's actually happening inside your mind, you know what to do.